Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's interview. I'm Sadie Fye, and I'm thrilled to be here with you and Deborah Blosnich, do our interviews on Wednesday nights. And today we're going to dive into a really special conversation about the Elite Mentorship Forum, also known as EMF. And I'm so pleased and grateful to talk to one of our EMF graduates, Ishe Bruce. Ishe, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I know that you have been through your own transformational journey and you're here to share that experience with us. EMF is all about unlocking our potential to challenge old beliefs and to create lasting change in your life. Whether you're curious about personal growth or you're looking for inspiration, I know that Ishe's story will be very insightful, and we're so excited to have you here. So I'm going to dive into the first question. What inspired you to join the Elite Mentorship Forum in the first place?
So what inspired me was I've been on a journey of personal development and sort of spiritual growth since for 30 years, since my teens. And I felt like I'd done a lot of things, but it just felt like they were all stepping stones. And I did used to be a doctor, and then I left medicine and then went into personal development. But what I found was that my knowledge was increasing, but I didn't feel like the change was happening so much within. It was happening very slowly compared to the amount of knowledge that I knew. And then I came across the EMF on the Facebook ads and Peter. And I remember the first time I watched him, it almost seemed like he was a little bit out of my league. I remember watching a video of him on YouTube and thinking, he's a little bit out of my league. And then 2 years later, I saw these adverts. And then I thought, something just said to me, it's right that I explore this. It was very much a gut feel. I found EMF that way and I joined one of his challenges. I think it was a 5 or 3 day, I can't remember now, one of the challenges. And by then I was just hooked because I loved what Peter was saying. It was absolutely right for where I was. And I really felt like this could be the missing link because he talked about, I felt like he embodied and he taught that embodiment of it wasn't just intellectual knowledge, it was who we change, who we become. And it was just that sense of, I got to do this. So then I signed up and here we are.
Yeah, I feel that so many of us go through that same process of finding
Yes.
Peter on Facebook as well. I can resonate with what you're saying. Totally.
Absolutely. So the inspiration came from like your lifelong journey, as you said, trying to become something else. And you mentioned a little bit about Peter's way of speaking about embodiment, but was there something specific, like a specific thing that he said or presented that really made him resonate with you?
I think the first thing I heard, and this is where I got the hook, it was on one of his videos that he talked about the 4 levels of consciousness, where he talks about the to me, the by me, the through me, and the as me. And I just felt like the sort of stuff he was talking about was missing from the other kind of courses or reading or research that I had been doing. It was almost like that gave me so much, but there was just something missing. And I felt like Peter spoke about that. And then the way he described these sort of 4 levels of consciousness, it just really resonated. And it was, yeah, that was the very first of many sort of analogies and the way he describes things. Yeah, it was
Okay,
that one.
thank you. Yeah, I think that's a big one. 4 levels of consciousness. I'm not sure that before Peter's program, I even realized that there were different levels of consciousness. So I think it's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah, and the EMF is all about raising your consciousness, and that's pretty out there as well. It's not anything hidden. It's part of that's what the program is, to help people to raise their consciousness as part of their personal growth and transformation. That's, yeah, really important. And the fact that he actually just spells it out. Peter just spells everything out. So
He does.
that's
That's
like,
why we love him.
exactly. So were there specific emotions that you were experiencing before you embarked on this journey that maybe you started to see a shift?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the big things was anxiety. So I've had anxiety pretty much my whole life. I've always been quite anxiety prone. Nothing. I was an overthinker. I just couldn't seem to shake it. And one of the reasons I went into the journey I did of doing many other sort of therapies beforehand, the neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, emotional freedom technique, tapping, which obviously I still do, but these various courses I did was really all to help me shift this anxiety. And I even became an anxiety coach at one time because I thought the best way to learn something is to help others with it. But what I found was there was so many tools to help make the anxiety go away a little bit, but it was not getting to the root cause. So anxiety was definitely one big thing I had before joining EMF. The other thing as well was also a sense of life is just a bit there. It's not bad. I had so many things to be grateful for, so many sort of positive things going on. But it was just like I was like this, and it wasn't great either. It's just because I wasn't allowing myself to see that. So it was very much a mindset thing. So yeah, it was that emotions of there must be something more than this. I'm doing all this work. Why am I still feeling anxious and just a little bit there?
I think that really resonates with a lot of people. And actually, I love the way that you say that line. I think a lot of people would be very happy to attain just that. There's
Yes.
nothing exciting, but there's nothing really like horrible happening. So life
Mm.
is good, right? Like things
Yeah.
are okay.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of us, that's where we find ourselves. So I'm glad that you decided to keep searching for
Yes.
something else. And like you said, there are a lot of tools out there, but it didn't bring you to where you are today. So, with that being said, was there a specific moment in doing the EMF that you were like, this is changing my life in a different way? And could you describe that moment maybe when you realized that it was impacting you differently than things you'd done before?
Yes, there have been many moments, and it's hard to pick one big one. But what I do remember is going on holiday with my family like 2 months after I started EMF 21. And I just remember the whole travel experience. Again, we went to Cyprus on a family holiday. So, the flights there and just the interactions within the airport, the flight, getting there, and then the same thing coming back. I just remember thinking, this feels different. This feels different. I didn't feel the same stress, the same anxiety, the same sort of tension that I would normally have when going traveling. I would expect things to go wrong. I would expect, I don't know, flights to be delayed, or I would expect hassle. None of that happened. It was just a sense of something is shifting. And I think we learned quite early on that your outer world reflects your inner world. So it was at that moment where I thought something has shifted inside for me to have this experience on the outside. And that was just 2 months in. But
Oh,
that was
wow.
like the first of many subsequent moments after that. And they're still happening. They're still happening more than 2 years later.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
maybe you could dive into a little bit about how your life has changed since you've completed EMF. What has happened to your relationships? I know you have a family, your career, what you're doing, your personal growth. Just maybe you could talk a little bit about what's different now.
Yeah, okay. There's no doubt about it. It has completely shifted. I think where I'd like to start, if that's okay, is just about the relationship with me, because I think once that kind of is then reflected in everything going out. So I think the biggest change I've seen is within myself, and having a life without anxiety has just been absolutely huge. That itself is something massive, because then it's had the knock-on effects of everything else. I'm a lot more, not having so much anxiety has meant I'm a lot more relaxed at home, and therefore my sort of relationships with my husband, my two teenage daughters, my mom as well also lives nearby. So they're the main people in my family. Has definitely shifted because they say I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot calmer. I don't fly off the handle so much because I think with anxiety came anger as well. There'd be a frustration, so I would get angry at times. Both the calmness has come in. I don't get angry hardly anymore at all, really. And so that's one big thing that's changed. I think in terms of having a different relationship to life, it's massively changed. So now I see life as a reflector. It's like a feedback mechanism. So I use life and what's happening in the outside world to inform me what's going on in my inner world. So if something I'm struggling with on the outside, instead of blaming the outside circumstances, I go within and I think, what in me has caused that to happen. Things like I managed to get rid of a lot of sort of emotional baggage I was carrying through the EMF. We do exercises, we have a different way of seeing those things. I managed to let go of a lot of things that I maybe had been holding on to that weren't really helping at all. So that was a deeper understanding of myself, just in terms of personality, or what they describe as archetypes within the course, knowing what my archetype is and how that means I behave or respond in certain situations was also extremely helpful as well. And just just my understanding of life, as I mentioned before, what it's all about. It just massively changed. And I know the change is irreversible. There's no way I can go back, because once you've seen or know these things, you can't unsee them, unknow them.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure that answered your question, but I just...
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. Just listening to you talk about, really, it's a massive change that has happened. And when I think about the fact that you've done a lot of other personal development, and this really took you to examine things so that you could make these changes, I think it's really powerful to hear the difference in your life.
And it's also what it's led on to as well. So after EMF, I became an EMT, Elite Mentorship Trainer. So in all the sort of classes we've been having with that, and the furthering education with those, because it doesn't stop. Once you're in the system, you're in the system for life, and you get so much value on a weekly basis. And so that has been the continuing growth as well, having those calls and learning from there as well. But one thing I didn't mention, actually, and this has been huge, is my peer group. Meeting like-minded people on the same path, who all have the same sort of view on life. And it's just been amazing, sort of finding my tribe within this sort of personal development sort of area, if you like. And I've made some really amazing and beautiful friendships within that, which I know are going to be lifelong. And it's almost like another language you speak when you've done EMF. You can speak to people, and they're at a different, they understand differently. I don't want to say it's better than anything else. It's just different, but it was what suited me. And that if you speak to someone, that they're going to get it at that level that you want to be understood, because they've been through the same sort of material that you have as well. And likewise, you can do the same for them. But really, through the community, like I said, I've met some of my best friends, I've met my business partner, I've met my sort of spiritual teacher, and it's just been awesome. Life has just opened up as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, you said a lot there. That was a lot of things, and you touched on some of the ways that you started looking at life. So I feel like my next question was going to be, what unexpected insights or breakthroughs do you have, or have you had going through the program? And I feel like you touched a little bit on that life as a mirror. So I'm not sure if you'd want to expand on that a little bit, but, or any other breakthroughs that you had while going through EMF.
I think there's just so many of them. I know I touched on some of them, but another big one is the thing about triggers. So that this is as well as using life as a mirror. So we get going more specifically, looking at triggers as well, and whatever in the outside world is causing a little bit of discomfort within us, is again doing that. What is it in me that I can let go? Because the more things you let go of, you're then able to raise your level of consciousness. And life, as you raise your level of consciousness, life just becomes a completely different experience. Things like you tend to flow more easily, things seem to just happen more easily. When things don't work out, you don't get upset by them. You feel like this is just feedback from the universe that's taken me to somewhere better. Things like manifesting is so much easier because you're holding on to less baggage. So that becomes easier. Relationships, connections become much easier as well, because again, you're getting rid of things that are in the way. And it's all about finding authenticity. And I feel as though this journey is very much, you realize that authenticity is very much about letting go, finding who you are underneath, whereas other things, what they might put more on you, so you're actually burying your authentic self more. Yeah, I think the breakthroughs, if you like, it's just been my whole attitude to life has just completely changed. And the reason I don't have anxiety anymore unwanted anxiety, is because I have a deep knowing that things will work out. Even if it might get a little bit messy in the middle, I know I can deal with whatever that mess is, difficulties, but I know it's ultimately all going to work out because it always does.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
It always does.
It's that
Excellent.
knowing that you're safe, right?
Yeah.
It's the knowing that
Right.
you're safe. And you've already mentioned that once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. So this
Yeah.
is something that's setting you up for the future. And maybe you could talk a little bit about how you see your long-term success and the transformation because of what you've gone through with EMF.
So I think in terms of long term, I'm actually quite reluctant to look long term because things can change. And I feel that if we start to put, if you like, where we think we're going to go or what we think could happen, we're doing ourselves a disservice really, because because I feel like life, universe has got much bigger plans for us than we can put for ourselves. If I look at, for example, the last year, there is no way in the world I could have predicted what was going to happen. Even if you said to me this time last year, what would you like to happen? That would look completely different to what has actually happened. And what has happened has been way better than what I could have put. So I'm just putting that in first. How do I see the future? I think all I can say is just to continue being in flow, continue doing the work, continuing letting go of baggage, continuing to serve. You know, I look for inspiration from life, from the universe to let me know how best I can serve. And that's happening at the moment with the business I'm doing with my business partner, who's a master trainer of EMF, Sebastian Atwell. The way we came together and the way that we have set up our business, Transcendent Shift, and it's been completely in flow, you know. And I think it's happened because we've both done the work and it's allowed this to happen. So in terms of the future, what I would love to do is just continue on that path. And if I hit any obstacles, hit anything like that, use that as feedback to let go of more and to continue being in flow and just continue to be amazed but never surprised, as Peter says.
Well said. I love that. Amazed but never surprised. What a different outlook on life that we get to walk away from when we go through EMF. Like you're saying, just leave all of those, everything that's weighing you down. It's just, yeah, it is hard to articulate sometimes, but I think you've done a beautiful job explaining your journey and some of the insights and the shifts that have happened for you. And I appreciate you sharing that with us here today. It's been gorgeous. So our final question is, if you were to talk to somebody today who's thinking they would like a change in their life, and now they've heard about EMF, but they're not sure,
Yeah.
what would you say to them about maybe when they're thinking about, should I take this leap or not? Do I want to embark on this? I know it's a
What
big
I would
question.
say to them is, of course, I would say, of course, do it. This is the best personal development course I have done. And I say that without a shadow of a doubt, having done a lot of things. And if they are not afraid to change, if they are prepared for their whole life to change, their whole outlook to change, their whole everything to shift, you know, if they are willing to go through that and have a really awesome outlook to life and an amazing peer group of people and a lifelong kind of community and education involved, meet some really inspirational leaders within this, why would you not do it?
Said, if you're ready to change and let go of that old you. I love that. Absolutely gorgeous. With that being said, that's an invitation for anybody that is watching this interview to reach out, whether it's to have a conversation or whether you're like, yep, that's me, I'm ready to change today. You can message Debbie, myself, or Ishe. All three of us are Elite Mentorship Forum trainers. And I think we will include in the link a link to, it's called Ultimate Self Mastery. And it's like a 1 hour introduction to what are we really talking about here. And that will again invite you to connect with us afterwards. So Ishe, again, thank you for sharing your journey. A lot to think about there, a beautiful transformation. And
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
you are very welcome. Thank you.
thank you for sharing your journey. It's a special one. And I can't just imagine what else is in the future for you. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm open. So, but thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.